Hi, this is Scotty Sanders. Thank you for joining me live on Facebook. Now listen, I threw a little bit of curveball this week. You may not have been able to find me yet. I've moved everything to my business page, Scotty Sanders. So hopefully you found that and you're able to join me live. If not, I'll post this and you'll be able to catch it later. So I do see that someone joined me. My daughter Jenny was able to find me, so good for her. And so anyway, I'm looking forward to sharing with you tonight. I'm going to be talking to you about questions I'm not asked nearly enough. You know, things that you would think I would be asked that I've not been. So I'll be sharing those with you. I've got kind of my top 10 list of questions that I'm not asked. Again, this is Scotty Sanders coming to you. I'm a international leadership consultant. And one of the things I like to get to do as part of my Facebook Live is share a little bit about, you know, some family background, a little trivia stuff. So the month of April, by the way, we are in April, so we're in the second quarter of 2018. And so 10 years ago in April, I started my consulting firm, Life Catalyst Consulting. It seems unbelievable. 10 years has gone by. So if you remember 10 years ago, probably not the best time to start anything, and certainly not a consulting firm. 10 years ago, I started it. A lot of people refer to that time as the Great Recession. A lot of businesses were going under, the economy was tanking, a lot of challenges and issues. So 10 years ago, and I've been so blessed. Again, there's been ups and downs and challenges along the way. Sometimes I thought, man, what have I got myself into? But we just finished the first quarter of 2018, and this was the best quarter we've ever had in our consulting firm. So I'm so thankful and grateful for that. I'm not saying it's been easy, but I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of wonderful people in the United States and then people in all over the world. So it's just been fantastic. In fact, I've got a team of people right now, as I'm coming to you live on Facebook, working in Africa right now, a team over there. So just some really neat opportunities that's been opened up. So again, celebrating 10 years of Life Catalyst Consulting. So anyway, I just want to share that with you. And I don't say that in a bragging way, just by the grace of God, I feel like I've made it 10 years, but it's been such a blessing. It really has been. So thank you for joining me tonight. And if you have joined me, let me know that you're with me. If you can post out there that you're online, I would greatly appreciate that. So I noticed my son Jacob made it, Lynn and Justin. Justin, thanks for making it. And so, in fact, Justin, I'm glad you're on this, and my son Jake and some others. What somewhat prompted this is the people that I'm close to that are comfortable asking me questions. My son Jake, my daughter Jenny, my son-in-law Justin. I think about a young man that's his name is Reed Chapman. He and I had lunch the other day, and he had a list of questions. I thought, this guy's going places. He had some great questions that he asked me. And so for the people out there that really take the time to ask questions, this is for you. So thanks again for joining me to put that out there. Judith, thanks for joining me. So we're going to get rolling. So I'm going to share with you some of these questions I'm not asked enough in my mind. So if you're ready to get rolling, I'm going to go ahead and start. And hopefully, and Kyle, thanks. You're there. Good deal. And Kyle, you ask a lot of good questions. You do. You ask some and you like feedback. It's one of the things I love about you, man. You like it straight. Give me good feedback. It's because you're a leader. You're a learner, and you want to get better. I'm very proud of you. So hopefully Kevin will be posting these 10 questions. If not, maybe my daughter Jenny will get that taken care of. So here we go. So here's the first one that I'm kind of surprised I'm not asked this more. So for the ones out there, maybe you've thought about asking, but you've just never done it. Here you go. Now here's the first one. First question. What is your personal growth plan? Because I believe that everybody really has a personal growth plan. It just may be what I call a default plan. You kind of randomly go about doing some things versus kind of designing what is your personal plan to grow. Because I believe we need to all be growing. If not, if you quit growing, you're not going to be able to help people. And again, going back to why I do this Facebook Live is because it goes back to my purpose, which is to encourage and empower others to live, lead, and finish well. And the whole theme behind my Facebook Live is to help you to lead well. I want to lead myself well. And I believe when we lead ourselves well, we lead others more effectively. So again, what's my personal growth plan? So let me just kind of walk through some things that I typically do. And this would be for most days, all right? So The first is that, I try to get up most days at 5:30 in the morning. And so I know some of you may not be coming from a religious background or not, but for me, that's very important for me to begin my day with prayer. A lot of times before my feet ever hit the floor, I spend the first 30 minutes in prayer. And then, like this morning, I was working out around 6 o'clock. And when I'm working out for about an hour, I'm usually doing strength training along with some cardio. And that is cardio when you're doing the strength training because I'm doing it fast. I'm listening to a book on tape. And it actually would be through Audible, so it's not really a tape now. But I'm getting an hour's worth of learning right out of the gate. And then when I get back home around my breakfast time, I'm having coffee and having my breakfast. I usually eat yogurt. I'm studying, I'm reading something, I'm preparing something. In fact, this morning I was preparing for my talk with you tonight. So man, 2 hours, by 8 o'clock in the morning, I've already studied for 2 hours. I've already learned some things. I feel like I've already had great success if I don't do anything else just by doing that. And then usually in the afternoon, like today, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I spent 2 hours studying online on a new course that I'm taking. I took a lot of notes on that. I watched a lot of videos. I read some transcripts. But 2 hours. So today I spent 4 hours studying. So I read quite a few books, somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 30 or 35 books a year. I usually listen to 3 podcasts, three different people I check out. I have a certain magazine that I read, certain blogs that I read. I like to take an online course. I'm always taking some online course or I'm getting some extra coaching. I mentioned a few weeks ago, I'm considering a high dollar coach for 90 minutes. It's going to cost, several $1,000s. I think it's $3,000 for that. So I like to develop myself because that way I can pour into you. So that's the first one that I'm really kind of surprised I'm not asked more. So, what is my personal growth plan? So that's what I do to grow. Those are just some of the things. The second thing that I'm not asked a lot is, how do you go about prioritizing? By the way, let me just say, I mentioned about Reed earlier. Reed, I'm glad you're here. I mentioned that you're a guy that asks a lot of good questions. And Bill, thanks for joining it for my Facebook Live too. All right, so second one is, how do I go about prioritizing? I'm so big about that. And it's because I see so many people wasting their time. So let me just give you a few little insights on some things that I do to prioritize. So here's the first one. And this is going to sound pretty simple, but if you get it, it's really very profound. It's this: learn to schedule your priorities. Okay? So what are priorities? Priorities are the things that you say are important. But what I find with so many people is we don't spend our time working on our priorities or doing our priorities, okay? So schedule your priorities, okay? So what I do each day, in fact, I've got my little card. It's my 3x5 plan. I write down every day on this card, along with several other things, my 3 top priorities. One of my top priorities today is being with you tonight. It's one of my top priorities because this is important to me. You matter. I want to invest in you. So schedule your priorities and then think about what are your top 3 things you need to do today. I'm a believer in this. If you will write down your 3 top priorities and make sure you get those 3 things done, you will have had success that day. And it will lead to great success in your life. So that's the second thing is, figuring out your priorities, schedule your priorities, and then writing out what your top 3 priorities are. And then let me mention one other thing related to your priorities. Do your priorities align with your purpose? Okay. Now, a lot of times we have to do things that may not be what we want to do, but we have to do it because it's part of our work. But the more you can align your priorities with your purpose, the greater fulfillment you will have. And so that's one of the things I've been able to do, especially in my consulting side of things. I'm able to better align the things that I feel like are important to what I believe my purpose is in life, which is encouraging and empowering others to live, lead, and finish well. For instance, you heard my purpose statement. One of my top priorities today is to do Facebook Live. So do you see how my purpose and my priorities align together? And that makes for a great day. All right, so another thing that I'm not asked a lot, and the reason this surprises me because so many people struggle with this and so many organizations struggle with it, is how do I go about making decisions? How do I make decisions, especially saying no? Does anybody here have trouble saying no to people? Raise your hand if you do. You know, I run into that all the time. Why are you doing it? Well, I just hated to tell them no. Well, sometimes we need to just be able to say no. You can do it the right way, but we need to be able to say no. So how do we go about making decisions? So let me just give you a few things that I use to make decisions. One, I kind of always look at the opportunity cost. Okay, if I make a decision to do this, what do I have to say no to? And it's usually a trade-off. So when you say yes to something, you may have to say no to something else. You know, Jesus said, count the cost. So we need to count the cost. When you overcommit, you know, that may be a problem. So, you know, helping make decisions is I'm always weighing, okay, if I commit to this, what do I need to say no to? So that would be one of the things that I do. Another would be, does this decision fit into my purpose and what I'm really passionate about doing? So that's another screening device, if you will, or filter that I use before I make a decision to do something. Okay, I see that Kevin's with me now. So Kevin, I know you'll catch us up. Maybe between you and Jenny, you'll list the questions. So the first one, you know, I talked about what is your personal growth plan? Number 2, how do you prioritize? Number 3, how do you make decisions and how do you say no? A couple other things on saying no. So let me get back to my notes here. Also, collaboration is a good way to make decisions. You know, when you don't have to feel like you have to make decisions in a vacuum, you get input from others, you get feedback, you get their insight. Man, I feel a lot more comfortable getting that feedback to help me that helps me reach a decision, but I still have to make the decision, right? I don't abdicate that responsibility. I still make the decision, but I want to get feedback, so I don't make those decisions in a vacuum. So get some collaboration when it's appropriate, and it's not always appropriate, but when it is, do that. And then you study the best options, and you make a decision. You don't sit around and debate it and overanalyze. You make the decision, you go with it. You know, in my consulting work, you know, one of the things I've been surprised is how many times I've worked with an organization and they just need some help in making decisions. It's amazing to me how many times they've had all of these decisions waiting there to be made until someone comes in and shows them the importance of making decisions. So maybe that'll resonate with you. So let me go to the fourth one. So the fourth one is, okay, and I may have to explain this. What is your secret sauce? You know, what is it that makes what you do unique and different than other people? Okay, it doesn't mean I'm special. I don't mean it that way, but what is that superpower, secret sauce that you bring that you think differentiates you from other people? And this is what I would say. You know, I always tell people I may be the least talented person. I never think I'm the smartest person in the room or the most competent. But, you know, I've been very blessed that I have that ability to multiply my efforts through others, through encouraging and empowering, equipping them to do that. Because here's the thing. When you do something on your own, if you do it at the very, very best, you can only do it at 100. That's it. That's the max. That's the ceiling. You can't do 101%. You can't score over 100. It's 100. But when you're able to multiply yourself through others, it can go to 100,000. It's exponential, okay? And so that's been really key to me. It allows me to do a lot of different projects and work through a lot of different people, through a lot of different organizations. So again, that's not everybody's, that's mine. Yours may be different. So, but figure out what your secret sauce is and play to that strength. Use that, and that will separate you from the crowd. So that's my secret sauce. That's a question I'm not asked often. Here's the fifth one. How do you invest in your family? All right. And let me just say to you, my family is a priority for me. Okay. And I've got grown kids, so we're empty nesters, but my kids are still very important to me. I want to be there to advise and help and be available as they need me on stuff. But listen, my wife and I have been married 39 years. We still go out on dates. We go to lunch together, usually 3 or 4 times a week. In fact, we went to lunch today, and then after lunch, we went to the Whole Food store, did a little shopping to get some meals for at night. And so we hang out a lot together. We still date. I invest in my marriage. I invest in my wife. I invest in my kids. My daughter, Jenny, We get to work quite a bit together, but I'm also available, and I always tell them, I said, listen, I'm willing to advise you, but you have to ask for advice. I don't give out advice unsolicited anymore. Once you get to be grown, that's something you have to ask for. And she's good about asking her dad for advice, but I want to be there for my daughter and my son-in-law. And then for my son, Jacob, usually every Friday night, he and I go hang out, go do dinner, kind of recap this week. We go through some different things. So we're hanging out, building a relationship, but it's also a way that I can mentor, coach, invest in him. And like with my granddaughters, my wife and I, and mostly my wife, Cindy, we did the Guardians of Light book project. It's a children's book that turned out fantastic, but all 4 of our granddaughters were involved in that project. So it's a way that we can invest in them, instill confidence in them, and just have some really neat special times, doing a video book trailer and coming up with the characters' names and different plot lines. It was just one of the neatest things. So that was a way that we got to invest in our family. So, those are just a few things. Cindy and I are already talking about going to see a certain movie for our date night, this weekend. So it's something that's very important to me. So that's the 5th thing, is how do you invest in your family? And then number 6, how do you seem to have margin when most people seem overwhelmed? How do you seem to have margin? I do stay busy, or let me just say this. I'm really not busy is not the right way. I like to think I'm productive. I get a lot done, but I'm not running around crazy all the time. It's because, I've learned to, focus on the most important things. Again, going back to prioritizing, that's helped me to do those things. And for the most part, I control my own calendar. There's a lot of things I do say no to. And I practice the Pareto principle. You may be familiar with that. An Italian economist years ago came up with the Pareto principle, basically said 20% of what we do produces 80% of our results. So I try to play that out. Listen, I want to make sure if what I do, the 20% of what I do produces the greatest results, I want to get better at that 20%. I want to eliminate a lot of the effort that goes into things that don't produce a lot. It goes back to the opportunity cost. So I practice the Pareto principle, and I say no to lots of stuff. I get a lot more requests than I do, and it's not that I don't want to help. It may not be something I'm passionate about. It doesn't help me fulfill my purpose. It doesn't fit into my schedule as much as I'd like for it to, so I say no a lot. Another thing is I don't procrastinate. Some people will procrastinate. They'll overanalyze. They'll spend more time studying. Sometimes you need to pull the trigger. We spend 5 hours on something that we should have spent an hour on. And I see that happening a lot. And listen, you could spend that extra 4 or 5 hours and it might get 1% better, but was it worth the extra 4 or 5 hours to make it 1% better? So don't procrastinate. Don't become a perfectionist about things. Sometimes you need to just turn loose and let it go and move on from it. I live in the world that you got to produce while you perfect. And a lot of us want it perfect, but before we ever put it out there, it doesn't work that way. I've written 4 books. Not a book that I've written has been perfect. If I waited for it to be perfect, I'd still be working on the first one. It would probably never be done. So those are some things that have helped me on having margin. And another thing that I've done through the years, and people question about this, but I really believe I live by this, is that I try to create a 25% buffer every day in my schedule. I allow times for opportunities that may surprise me. Things that can come up, but if you schedule every minute of every day, you're going to be setting yourself up for trouble. It just doesn't go that way. So I build in to my daily plan some margin. So that was, what was that? Number 6. So let's get to number 7. How do you motivate the people you lead? We hear that all the time. Scotty, you're a motivator, or you're not. This person's not a motivator. Here's my thing. I don't claim to be a motivator. What I don't want to do for people that I work with, I don't want to be a demotivator. I don't want to be a person that demotivates people that are giving their best. They've got a good attitude. I want to stay out of the way, and I want to work on not demotivating them. Now, what do I mean by demotivating? Here, let me give you some examples of what I mean by that. Things that demotivate, all right? Now, this is just a list I came up. Don't waste people's time. That's a demotivator. Don't waste people's time. Don't show up late for meetings. If you're the leader and you're showing up late for meetings, that's a demotivator. You're not respecting other people's time. Another demotivator is having a bad attitude. That's a demotivator. I don't want to work for a leader that has a bad attitude. I just don't want that. Another thing that you can do to demotivate is you have poor follow through. You don't follow through what you committed to do, or you don't have a good communication loop. You don't want a person that's knocking it out of the park for you, and then they're finding out from other people key details or key initiatives. That's demotivating to people. Listen to me. Don't worry so much about motivating people. Worry about not demotivating people, right? If you got the right kind of people you're around, they should already be motivated. Don't do things that demotivate them. So here's something else, that demotivates. No encouragement. You're always pointing out the negative, and you're not encouraging people. You're not appreciating people. Listen, you need to encourage people. If you don't, they're going to be demotivated. And don't nitpick people to death. Don't have someone that does something at 98 or 99, but you'll take that 1 or 2% and you will just nitpick them to death. That's demotivating to people. Let me tell you why I know that's demotivating, because that demotivates me. I'm assuming if it demotivates me, it probably demotivates you. Look for the good. Provide encouragement. So those are some things that demotivate. So I'm not asked a lot, what do you do to motivate? I don't demotivate. That's the main thing. Here's a true story. I'll tell you what, I may save this story later because it takes a couple of minutes, and I'm getting short on my time here. I want to make sure I honor your time, but I want to share a story with you about a situation where it's demotivating for a person. And here's the thing I'd say is, you've got to let your eagles soar. Man, if you've got some racehorses, don't get in their way. Don't demotivate them. Don't discourage them. You got to let the eagles go. You got to let them soar. Stay out of the way. That's how you motivate people, is just don't demotivate them. Number 8, what are some of the most important characteristics leaders should have today? That's a great question. I've not been asked that often. Should have been asked a lot that. Here's some things I think are important based on my experience. One would be, someone that has the ability to build trust. That is so important because there's such a lack of authenticity out there. People are looking for real. They're looking for authenticity. So if you're able to build trust with people because you are authentic and because you are real, that's a great foundation to build on. Now listen, you have to work on some other things, but you start there. That building trust quickly is so important. You build trust by being authentic. You have integrity. You've got a proven track record. I refer to the proven track record is you got a skin on the wall. You fought some big battles. You have a grizzly bear skin on the wall. You've got a proven track record. So that's how you build trust. Some other things, that are important characteristics is someone that's passionate, someone that's got energy. Man, I'm around some people, they move at a snail's pace. They're just slow. They lack energy. I like people that have energy. They have enthusiasm, and they're natural encouragers. So that's a few things. Another one I would say is a servant's heart. At the end of the day, it can't be about their ego, their agenda. They truly have a servant's heart. The agenda, what's best for the organization, is more important than their own agenda. Okay, a servant's heart. They put the organization, they put others ahead of themselves. And they're the leader. The servant leader serves the people that work with them. Another thing I would say, someone that's a learner. If they're not committed to be a lifelong learner, that's going to be a problem for them. And then someone that has confidence. And again, you got to be careful there. This is something I have to watch with me. I can definitely come across as a little cocky and arrogant at times. I know that about myself. I'm not accused often of lacking confidence. What I don't want to do is be cocky, But you need to have a level of confidence. It's hard to follow someone that lacks confidence. I don't want to follow someone that lacks confidence. So those are some things that I would say would be important characteristics for a leader and things they should have today. So number 9, what is a piece of advice you would tell a new young leader? So someone new starting out. Here's a few quick things I'd say. Build for the long haul. Build for the long haul. We want it now. We're in this microwave, instant gratification, we want success now. Build for the long haul. So the next thing I'd say there is make progress every day. Every day, make some improvements, make progress. It's the compound effect. Okay. Again, planning for the long haul. We want it now, but it takes time. And then find something you're good at doing. Find something you're good at doing, something you're really passionate about, and then find ways to monetize that. Again, I'm not saying you monetize it because you want to become wealthy, but if you can't monetize it, you can't sustain it. If you can't monetize it, you can't sustain it. So find something you're good at doing, find something you're passionate about, and find a way to monetize that. And then number 10, what is success for you, or what is success for me? I don't know if I've been asked that question. And what I would say to you, I've kind of mentioned that a little bit. Family is success for me. How I spend time with my spouse, my kids, my grandkids, and again, making them a priority and pouring into them and seeing them do well. Their success is important to me. And I'm not just talking about success as far as how much money they make. There are a lot more things important in life than how much money you make. But their success is important to me. And then I would say fulfilling my purpose and my calling, which going back to encouraging and empowering others to live, lead, and finish well. That's success for me. The more I get to do that with more people, the more people I get to pour into, the greater success that I personally feel. So here's one thing I'd mention to you. If you're interested in encouraging and empowering others, I'd ask you to join the mission that we're on at Quest of the Keys. That's why I wrote the book Quest of the Keys, really geared more toward the next generation, but it is to empower the next generation on the things that I've been teaching you. If you would like to be a part of our support team of that, you can go to questofthekeys.com, become a monthly supporter. We refer to you as a world changer. And when you do that, I'll send you a personally signed copy of a special edition Quest of the Keys book. Again, just a way that you can invest in what we're doing, that we can pour into the next generation. So again, questofthekeys.com. Okay, so let me mention to you a couple of questions that I am asked a lot, and these are kind of funny, all right? So my granddaughters ask me this often, Papa, why don't you have hair? And it's like they think I can do something about it. Like, Papa, why, do you have a choice in this? And I just laugh. I'll make up some funny story about that. But that's something they ask. And I cannot tell you how many times someone's asked me this. You do realize that you married way above your pay grade or over your head. And I absolutely did. And I'm very blessed for that. So a couple questions I'm asked a lot about are those two things. So listen, if you've enjoyed this tonight, I want to encourage you and ask you, do me a favor. Would you please share this with others? That would be a great blessing to me if you would do that. And then if you have a question that you would like to ask me directly, send it tonight. And then maybe in the next few weeks on one of our Facebook Lives, we'll have another time I'll answer your questions live on Facebook. So if I get enough of those, I need to get at least, let's say 7 questions, and I'll make a Facebook Live event just to answer your questions, all right? And then please don't forget to share this. If you do that, that would mean a lot to me. And listen, till next time, I'll be leading well. I hope you will be leading well. Take care.